Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel Scale Model Kit Review. In this installment of Build the Ghostbusters Ecto-1 from FanHome, I am working on issue 18. Now issue 18, I do a lot of electronics here. We actually made up the interior to the chassis, and there's a lot of work going on here, and probably this was one of the most gratifying issues I've built so far in this build. It was a lot of fun. If you haven't done so already, head over to FanHome and start your subscription today of this car. This is a fantastic car. It's the biggest part work car out there, and I think you would really enjoy it. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back to the Ghostbusters Ecto-1, issue 18. I'll be working on stages 63 through 66. Got a lot of wiring and light tests with this pack. So let's look at the magazine. Lots of great articles here with the magazine. Just give you a preview of it. And a preview of the next parts to come. Let's look at the parts that are included with this pack. 63, more gadgets for the cargo compartment area. 64, some of the rails for the gurney. 65, all the wiring and circuit board for the car, and once again the LED lights for 66. Let's get started. Also in this issue I received the binder. Fantastic there. Let's look at stage 63. Here's the parts for stage 63. You start working on the latitude, longitude processors. Looks pretty good there. Let me get the parts, I'll be right back. Here's the parts for 63. Here's a close-up of those parts. Everything here is plastic. We also received some silver AP screws. Alright, first thing we do for the latitude and longitude processors, we're going to put these panels on, and they simply peg in the little tab there. AP screws go in from the bottom. That's good there. The other side, same thing. That's good there. Next we add this panel here to the outside slot. AP screw goes into that. Another panel goes in it the same way. They only go in one way. And of course the AP screw going into this. These are all plastic, so that looks great. One more panel to put on. Looks like it goes on just like that. And that's tight. That's how they all look. Now we'll bring over the interior, install this on the interior. Go ahead and take this and put it on the left-hand side of the interior. There's 4 slots for it. And 4 AP screws go into this. And the last one. That's good there. And that's how those panels look there. That's all I do was stage 63. Let's head over and do stage 64. And here's the parts for stage 64. For stage 64, I work on the control boxes and gurney rails. There's the control boxes, the gurney rails, install the dash. Let me get the parts, I'll be right back. Quite a large bag here for stage 64. There's the parts. AP, IP, and OP screws. Here's the control panels themselves, all made of plastic, and the gurney rails. First control panel we're going to slot in on the right hand side in front of that jump seat. Two AP screws go into it from the back. That's good there. That's what that looks like there. Got to put a panel on the other side. Going to slot in this panel on the other side here. Two AP screws go in on it. And that's what that panel looks like there. Go ahead and put the first gurney rail in. If you'll notice how it sticks up, that's going to go on the outside. Just going to line it up with the holes here. OP screws go into that. And these are flush mounted screws. And the rail is completely installed. It took 5 screws, and they are all flush mounted. And that's what I mean by flush mounted. I have 3 more rails that need to be installed, and if you look closely, that's how they'll be mounted on the floor. All the rails are installed. I just made sure they were all completely tight, and that's how they look. So I already have the rails installed. Now we go ahead and install the dash, and there will be 4 screws that hold it on up front, and then 2 on each side. These will be IP screws on the front. The last one on the top here. Got to put them in on the bottom. 4 more IP screws go in from underneath. The first one. And the last one. That's tight there. And that's all I do with stage 64. Did a lot here. Looks fantastic. Got the dash installed, all the rails and the panels. Let's head over and do stage 65. For stage 65, I work on the PC board and speaker, and of course all the wiring for the electrical circuit. That's all the parts that are included. And there's a list of parts. And here's the instructions. And They do point out that you want to make sure all your long wires are headed towards the back of the car and all the shorter wires are headed to the left side of the car as shown in the illustration. We're going to install the speaker first, plug that into the PC board. Also going to hook up the battery compartment wire to it, making sure the battery compartment switch is turned off. And of course all the wiring harness was installed neatly. Then we'll put the interior down on the chassis. Put a lot of screws in there. And we're going to neaten up everything, all the wires. Start plugging in some of the dashboard wires and such. And that's all we do with this stage. Let me get the parts and I will be right back. Here's the parts for stage 65. Let me give you a closer look. Here's what all the parts look like inside the blister pack. PC board, all the wiring, speaker, some stands for the chassis that we can use, JP, OM, EM, and IP screws, and they were not contained within the blister pack. Let's take these out. And here's a close-up of all the parts. They did give us some tape to secure the wiring to the chassis, and of course the little maintenance stands for the chassis made of plastic. We got something like this very similar in the DeLorean build, I believe, and of course some more wire extensions there, and the speaker and all the mounting hardware for the speaker, along with this bracket here to neaten up our wires on the side of the chassis. So I'm going to go ahead and neaten up all these wires the way I feel they should be, and we'll just kind of make sense when I'm done. So give me a moment. It's going to take me a little while to get these things organized and put the way they need to be. And like I was saying, longer wires need to be separated from the shorter wires, but I'm going to do a little bit more than that. So I will be back. Alright, so I have organized all the wiring, and like the instructions said, you want to put all your long wires, they're going to be heading towards the front of the car, and then your shorter wires are going to be heading towards the left hand side of the car. And we'll mount our PC board right here on the chassis with 4 EM screws, and we'll also plug in the battery terminal, terminal A to terminal A. It's coming off the front here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I will be right back. A to A. Just snaps right in. And then this is the speaker wire, so when I put the speaker on, we will hook that up. And now to lay down my wires on the chassis using that tape that's provided. And of course, these other wires are going to run off to the side here. And here's the speaker. Speaker just lays down in this. There's a couple of ridges that it sits on. There we go. Put the mount bracket on. Longer QM screws go into it. And there it is mounted. Plug in the speaker wire. Just like that. And I'm just going to route this wire under to keep it out of the way. Perfect. Now go ahead and tape down those bundles as per the instructions. And this tape just peels back. You can use an X-Acto blade to do that. We'll tape down. Just like that. And you can see here, did tape it down back here, right here, and onto the front. Now let's go ahead and install the chassis. So here's the interior, and we're going to put that down on top of the chassis. Now we need to take and make sure that we drive the steering shaft through the front of the dash. I'll give you a close-up. And you can see that there's a hole. You may not be able to see the hole, but it's got to go through that hole, and then it's got to go through the front of the dash. There we go. Okay. Now, make sure our wiring is out of the way, and we'll slide everything forward. Great. Now it's sitting where it needs to sit, and the steering shaft is through. Now I have to put 13 screws into this from the bottom. And this is where it gets a little tricky. I'm going to do it off camera, and then I'll show you what I've done when I'm finished with that. I'll be using 13 JP screws from the underside to lock this down. I'll be right back. All 13 screws are in. Took a little coaxing to get things to line up, but everything went in just fine. And if you're wondering where those screws are put in at, and right here is where they were installed at. 6 on each side, and then 1 in the middle back there by the tank. The ones under the axles were a little tough to get at, but besides that, everything else lined up pretty good. Next, we'll go ahead and route our wires that were coming out the side, and we're going to put them and secure them down with this bracket right here, and 2 IP screws will go into that. And there they are. Everything in its place there and out of the way. Looks great. Now we need to go ahead and hook up the wires for the dash. And that's going to be all these wires and these wires here. They're all going to plug in together. I'll hook those up, and I will be right back, and I'll explain what I did. Everything is plugged in. Pretty much you just do a color match with your wiring. So you got to plug in the gray gray, the white white, the green green, the red white, the black black, the green blue, and the blue blue. And then you're left with 5 wire harnesses still left. And we'll be plugging those in here in a little bit. These must be interior lighting switches and some of the headlights. And that completes stage 65. We have left over the little stands for the chassis and the rest of the wires. We're going to deal with those in the next stage, I believe. So stay tuned for the final stage for this pack, stage 66. I'll be right back.
Everything is alright, but I keep seeing ghosts in the daylight.
Here's the parts I received with stage 66. And these are the LED wiring and lights, tail lights, headlights. It's all them there. And it explains what they power up and where they go. And this is where we'll do a functional check of these lights. We'll start checking them one at a time. Ceiling lights, tail lights, brake lights, testing the other lights, let me get the parts, I'll be right back. Here's the parts for stage 66. Let's get a closer look. And here they all are. These would be the switches here for the interior lights. And they actuate by the doors or the rear tailgate. Interior lights again, all color coded. We have some red, clear, and once again some more interior lights here with the red ones there, and the headlights and tail lights. Let's get rolling. Okay, so looking at all of our switches, we're going to do a test of the headlights, and that's that main switch here on the left of the dash. And I did plug in the green and white wires, the O and P wires. That's these right there. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on the switch. There you go. That's what they look like there. Very subtle. The camera really blows them up, but that's how they look. Next, I plugged in the two black and white wires in the back near the left rear tire, and those are the tail light wires. They just correspond with the other black and white wires. I'll turn it on, and they look good. They work. Okay, we're still on, huh? So the interior lights are the blue and black wires here, and as soon as you have all your door switches plugged in, X, V, and T, and U and W, there's 5 of them total, then these lights should come on when I turn on power. Here we go. They are on. You can see that. Now, I'm just going to lay those right there. I'm going to take my interior switches and I have to close them all at the same time. And then the last two. There we go. So that works. As long as all the doors are closed and the rear trunk deck lid is closed, the rear hatch. So as long as all the doors are closed and the rear hatch is closed, those lights will go out. Go ahead and test a few other things. Dash lights should have come on. And it's hard to see, but they are on. I'll give you a picture of that or a video. So we'll go ahead and operate the siren switch, which is the right knob on the radio. The roof light switch won't do anything for us, but the horn switch is the switch next to the left radio switch, and then the engine sound switch. So let's give them a try. That's cool there. And we don't have roof lights on, so that's not going to work. Horn switch. And lastly should be our engine switch. Very cool. That concludes our lights and sound effects. Everything works great. I'm very pleased with that. And that completes stage 66. We did a lot here. All the lights work, all the bells and whistles for this work fantastic. And I really enjoyed this one because it had the electronics, and I think it's fantastic that we got to this stage and everything is functioning and working perfectly. If you haven't done so already, head over to FanHome and subscribe to this Ghostbusters Ecto-1 today. I put a link in the description below. If you like my content, please subscribe to my channel and smash the like button. Happy modeling, everybody, and take care.